Hello, friends, and welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. My name is Chrissy McCammon, your host and the owner of Rooted in Wellness. Today, I have two very special guests on with me. You're going to love them. Um, we have Doug Godkin. Did I say that right, Doug? Um,
Correct.
he is a nutraceutical entrepreneur with a passion for developing cutting edge supplements, and he has a true passion for people. He's a certified executive coach, a human resource professional. You have a lot of things in your history. You actually had an injury. You were a firefighter and had an injury, which I would like to hear more about that. And then over the past 15 years, you've worked with really gifted scientists, doctors, formulators, and you've experienced all aspects of supplement manufacturing, ingredient harvesting. Um, you have a true passion for people, and what I love about you, I thank you for taking the time out to come on to the podcast to help educate us about your products, which is correct me if I'm saying this wrong, Ameo or Ameo. I always say it both ways because I'm not sure.
Ameo Life is how we say it.
Ameo Life. I'm interested in how you came up with the name for your company. And then also with us, someone that you're familiar with is Dina Lynn. She came on a couple weeks ago and taught us all about the dirt and how important that was. So, Doug, I'm going to let you take off here and tell us a little bit about yourself, like your history. I'm interested in the injury and then like how you ended up getting into the supplement field. And yeah, take it away.
Cool. Thank you. Well, I'd say God definitely chooses the direction for our life. And when I was young and, coming into life, let's say graduating high school, if you would have said, oh, yeah, one day you're going to manufacture health supplements and help people, I would have been like, that's the farthest thing I've ever. I wanted to be a police officer, actually, of all things. And I'm going to say my journey into supplementation started as a very young child. My grandfather, and this is in the 1970s, when supplements weren't a thing, he was, one of those people that was growing everything, actually making his own supplements and really truly into the earth's ability to heal the body. And I was extremely sick as a child and spent a lot of time in children's hospital. And my grandfather would go to my parents and say, get him out of the hospital, get him off the drugs, get him away for the doctors. We're going to take him home and we're going to get him better naturally. So I had all of these herbs and vitamins and cod liver oils and all this kind of stuff rammed down my throat as a young kid. And I absolutely hated going and staying with my grandparents. Like it was not a good time. But there's an apprenticeship to life of what God puts us into and puts us through, right? So I didn't realize that so much of that mattered to now where I'm at today. And so, after I graduated, I became a firefighter, went through and was a certified Red Seal chef, as well as an auto mechanic because I was very young and had a young family and was putting food on the table and doing different apprenticeships and was a firefighter for 15 years. And on a Christmas morning, I uh, I was at a house fire and on the second story balcony when that house exploded and it blew me off the balcony and I landed down on my air pack on my back and really injured my back at that point. And so I went through a number of years with, debilitating back pain. And I never once took any pharmaceutical drugs for that because I had seen a lot of people get addicted to the different things. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to suffer through it. And was actually able to reclaim my body naturally, I guess is the best way to say it, um, through natural anti-inflammatories and through different natural processes. And I'm going to say God definitely healed my body because here I am now, I guess it's been 15 years since I had that and no pain in the standard way of life.
So do you feel like the training that you got from your grandfather when you were younger, just watching and having that knowledge base is why you went the more natural way, or
Yeah, and I've never been one like just for whatever, how God speaks to us and we don't know he's speaking to us.
yeah,
I'd say there's just always been this voice in my head that's like, stay away from certain things,
me
right?
too. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I can't explain to it, because as you know, our Christian walk is always a bit of a yo-yo and a bit of a heart monitor too, through different stages of our life, right? So we all have a past, and we all have things that we're not proud of in our past, but for whatever reason, there's just always been this voice saying, just stay away from certain things or you don't need it, right? And I'm not saying that's going to apply to anybody and everything. It's just, sort of how I feel that he's been speaking to me over the years, right? So that, ended up with, me getting into supplement manufacturing and that kind of stuff, coming in as more from a marketing angle than a production angle or anything. And it's just over the years, how we go through this apprenticeship of life to where we get to, right? So I don't have a formal PhD, or, I'm not a doctor, but I'd say from the school of apprenticeship that life gives us, it's been one heck of an education, traveling the world, working with doctors, working with the formulators, working in the labs, just having, I'd say, a lot more of a boots on the ground form of education than we would get through going through a
I
school.
think that's the best. Like God's training you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps, what we were talking about prior to, jumping on this recording here was just, it's given a foundational approach to wellness, to supplementation, and to our human bodies. And as we were sharing, getting on here, is we as human beings, right, come from the dust of the earth,
Right.
right? And if we look at how our body functions and what makes our body up, first and foremost is dirt and water, right?
Right.
That's essentially what we are. And then, the absolute miracle of life, how God takes that dirt and water and puts it together to give it a heart and lungs and a liver and kidneys and everything else to work. But essentially, he created this vessel out of dirt. So when we look at supplementation, we look at foods, we look at all of these different things, is God created our bodies to function in a certain way. And he gave us an immune system. He gave us a body that can repair itself. So what do we need to give that body to function at its highest level and repair itself? And like we were saying before, as I believe that, as much as the enemy attacks our spirit, he's attacking our body, and he's attacking our body by presenting, however those products are created, right? Is presenting products that we deliver to our human body that destroy our human bodies.
I
And
agree.
those are petrochemical derived products. Those are synthetic ingredients. Like, our body was never designed to use those products. And I sometimes will come back to a little bit of a mechanical reference of, you put oil in your car where the oil goes, you put antifreeze in the car where the antifreeze goes, and brake fluid. You don't mix those up, because if you mix those up, it's going to be catastrophic for your car. But we are okay to do that to our body, and we don't think about it. So when we're choosing our foods, when we're choosing our medications, when we're choosing our personal care products, we're not thinking about, was my body ever designed to use this? And then we wonder why we're getting sicker and sicker, why we're getting overweight, why we're getting anti-inflammatory conditions. Like, why are we getting all of these now more than any time in history? And we can see, when we look at the charts, we can see that sickness is growing as fast as the poor foods and the medications are getting presented to us. Like, there's no argument on that. The data shows it, right? So our approach, or what we look at, is in saying, okay, well, like, we understand what's making us sick, and we could talk about this for hours, but I think that's a pretty good summary of it, right? So when we look at supplementation and we look at what can we be as a company, what can we be as a developer of a product line that's going to work in harmony with what God created our bodies to be. And that's to make sure, like, God created us out of dust, as we've talked about, but he also created a world that can substantiate life. And the further that we move away from that world that can substantiate life, the further we get sick. So where we're coming from is how do we get back to what God created, right? And there's so much new agey that gets put into this, and spiritualism and energy and all this kind of stuff. Please don't think I'm going anywhere near that, because that's not where we're coming from. And I completely dislike the reference Mother Nature, because that's just another reference to taking God out of the situation.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because like early on in my wellness walk, it would be like they would talk about grounding, and I'm like, grounding, is that new age? Or, like do your breathing, like, oh, is that new age? But it's not, it's terminology.
Right. And we've got to be careful on how we
Our
look
own
at the
language,
different,
what do you think?
yeah,
Sorry.
and we've got to look at how we look at the different practices, and then how I'm going to say the enemy has manipulated those practices to make them his, right?
Right.
And so when we look at supplementation, and we look at what we're doing to help, I'm going to say people that we help, is it's taking those raw herbs, minerals, botanicals from the earth and getting those to the human body as they were from the earth. And we see, and even the supplement industry is extremely corrupted by,
Oh,
you know, and I'm not picking on multi-level marketing companies here, but I'll just say it. We see so many multi-level marketing companies that put a doctor or a scientist as the face of the company, saying, hey, this doctor developed, this system and took these ingredients and manipulated them and made it better for the body.
like we're glorifying the doctor instead of God.
Right. So we've got to be careful on what we're doing to those ingredients, how we're manipulating those ingredients, because we want to make sure that what we're getting into the human body is as God intended it to be. Because our body is designed to assimilate, digest, and use these natural ingredients. Trace minerals is a huge one, for instance, because our body doesn't function without minerals, because our body comes from dirt. So it's how we operate. It's the spark plug of life, let's say. So it's incredible when you look at supplements, at how many ingredients are actually baked and boiled and destroyed before they even get into the supplement, meaning that it's ultimately useless by the time it gets into the human body.
And people
So
don't know, because I think the other thing too that people don't recognize is the FDA is not, well, you're from Canada, but your company is actually in the United States, and the FDA doesn't really regulate, do they?
in Canada, we've got Health Canada, and actually Health Canada is even a more stricter body than the FDA. So I live in Canada, but our company is in the United States, and our products are made in the United States. But
Utah, Utah.
but speaking from somebody in Canada, the funny thing is when a product company puts what's called a natural product number on their product and goes through all the Health Canada regulations, it's actually a higher degree of classification than the FDA through a GMP. So if a Canadian company is selling product into the States, and the FDA looks at it and sees a GMP number, they're like, wow, like they're putting it through a bigger test than we are. We're just going to leave these guys alone.
Okay, that's
But
interesting.
it's a very, very, very expensive, and just with all of the things that are going on in our world, is the Canadian government right now is actually putting procedures in place to what I see, and this is a whole other conversation, that's going to destroy the supplement company or industry in Canada, and it's going to turn more of those big supplement companies back over to big pharma, because a lot of people don't realize that so many of the supplements they buy today are actually big pharma companies that are taking these synthetic ingredients and calling it a vitamin D and a vitamin C and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I saw a study here a couple weeks ago where they took I think it was five supplements, and they just looked at them to see if what the company was claiming was in them was actually in them, and 87% was not what was said to be in that supplement.
Oh yeah. And we could literally do an episode on supplement production and the
Listen, I'm writing these all down. If you keep bringing up episodes, I'm going to hold you to it.
but just for people to understand, like, when you go into a health food store, or, you know, a lot of people may buy their supplements at Walmart or the grocery store. We could do an episode to actually teach people actually how to look at a supplement and realize if that is actually good or if they're just buying filler.
Let's
Because
do it. Let's
yeah.
schedule it.
So
Yeah.
let's schedule that for down the road.
Okay.
Well, you know that it's funny. I think the most important thing is when you're buying supplements, and again, that's another conversation, but real briefly is the intent. We test everything that goes through our doors and that we manufacture as a company, Ameo Life. And it was a major retailer. I'm not going to say names. I think it was last year or the year before. I have to look in my notes. But they found tree branches, house plants, and all these nefarious ingredients and these vitamins. And it was really disheartening because they're, you know, these people who are doing that are putting a bad name on the industry. And it's like, who do you trust? And I love that as a company with Ameo Life is that we test everything. There's integrity in our work shows for it, the results show for it, and there's nothing, no junk in anything that we produce. And that's a lot of Doug is very firm about, you know, how we produce, you know, from the beginning to the end, the quality and the integrity of everything that we do. So I like that. Customers trust us. I can put something
Yeah.
out from a tomorrow, somebody's going to buy it because it has our name on it. I was reflecting on that this morning, Doug. People trust us, and I love that because we never want to diminish that. I know that if we put something out tomorrow, somebody would buy it with our name on it because
Yes.
as a company, it's not just about the product, but about the leadership. And that's
I
what
agree. I agree with that. And I think me being on the consumer end, the in between as the practitioner, you know, that's what I tell my people all the time. Like they send me a product, they're like, "Is this good?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I don't know who owns that company. I don't know how they produce. Like you know, the marketing looks good, but I love the idea that I work with companies that I have access to the owner. Like today, Doug's coming on here to educate the people, or Dina, you are always open to answering questions and being there for your clients. So, you know, having companies like that they're trustworthy. You trust them.
Yeah, well, it's more than that as well, as a company because we know that a lot of technology like AI is taking over, and that's another conversation as well. But as a company, we still work on a golden handshake. We still say thank you. We still you can reach a live human. I mean, we do have those
Yes.
capabilities of sending a quick text online and asking a question. You know, if you're a consumer, but even have access to Doug, I couldn't call a company right now and talk to the owner or the CEO.
Right.
I would love
Right.
that because I have a complaint or maybe I have praise, but I would never. And I think that's what Doug has done, has set us apart because you should know who's running these companies. You should know who's behind them. It just says a lot about it. To me, it's transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Thank you. I don't know what to say. Um,
Well, no,
I kind of get up in the morning the same as you do, and realistically, like our focus predominantly is to help people reclaim their lives, right? So we all play our role within doing that, but like nothing gets us up better in the morning than to be a part of that transformation and helping
Hey, you
educate
feel like you're
people.
making a difference.
Totally,
But I
totally.
love too that you incorporate God into why you do what you do, because like we're just the conduits for him to be able to do what he's wanting to do, you know, and
vessels, we're vessels, right?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not about us, right? And we look at this, you know, we look at this life that we go through, and we look at this vessel that we were born into the world in, right? And you know, this vessel's under attack, and when our body is weak, it weakens our spirit too, right?
Yes.
So you know, God calls us to ministry in a lot of different ways, and this is even something that I've been struggling with myself lately, just to get a little bit personal, is it's like, God, how can I serve you better, right? Where can I, you know, like, am I giving enough time to helping people? Am I giving enough time? Like, should I be doing more? And it's, I think he's put us in this position to be like, okay, you're helping people in what you're doing. And I want to take the business aspect out of it for a minute, because it's not about the business. It's not about sales and that kind of stuff. It's about how can we truly deliver healing to people, right? And if there's a ministry in how we approach it, how we look at the supplement, how we do things, and the what God is putting us to saying, if you're going to do this, this is how you're going to do it, right? And that comes to like, how do we create these? How do we stay true to him in what we're providing for people, and not thinking that we've got an ego or we could do something better if I'd add this or change that or whatever. No, God's like, I created this for the human body. I created, the vitamins, the minerals, the botanicals, the herbs of the earth a certain way. Don't think that you're smarter than me. Just get them to the body. So I hope you understand what I'm saying with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like keep it in
Okay.
the form God made it. He doesn't
Right.
need our help.
You don't need our help at all.
He doesn't
Like
need our help.
anything
Like
that we're going to do as a human being is going to screw it up.
yeah,
So,
it's like we like I often think about we build our own towers.
yeah,
Like, well, if we just do this, it'll be better. And and we don't have to. He's given us everything we need.
totally.
And you know what's interesting about that is I'll just bring up, we wouldn't need supplements. Hold on. We wouldn't need supplements if we didn't pervert the soil or we didn't pervert the food.
Yes. Which
Because
we were trying to build our tower of Babel and make better.
everything that literally God has given us everything that we need to live well and healthy. True story. But I use that word perverted because I read an ingredient list yesterday from like, oy vey, I couldn't even, it's hieroglyphics, right? But he's given us fresh air. We have perverted the air. He's given us clean water. We have perverted the water. He's given us, and these things are free, by the way. There's no cost to them. He's given us the land. We've abused it. He's given us the opportunity to rest on Sundays, or rest that we can repair and regenerate. And we don't, we go, 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 go. And I'm guilty of that. Like, I'm one of the worst people. I don't know about you, Doug, but sometimes I go, 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 and then I crash, and it's just not good for me, because we're like always living in this chasing, doing, have to be productive. I don't know if he intended us to be that way, but then he also gave us breath. And it's, to me, breath is that's not a heebie-jeebie word. It's not a new age word. Breath is something that is free, but we forget to breathe. And he gave us everything that we needed. And because we've compromised and we've messed up those things, we're not getting. And that's why. And then the spiritual part, where, like I said, I mean, I'm not a perfect Christian. I do enjoy going and having a relationship with God, but body, mind, and soul, like we talked about at the beginning. And if we were to nurture and take care of those things, it's not expensive to be healthy. It isn't, but because our soil is corrupted, because our food is corrupted, even the organic at times, that's where supplements come in. And every deficiency and most illnesses can be traced to a mineral deficiency. I'm not sure if you know that. You can get tested. I think you do testing, right? With Chrissy. Find out what you're missing in your body, and then we'll give you that spark plug that you need. Maybe new spark plugs that, that
Yeah, I think a whole nother podcast is the busyness. Like, I truly believe that busyness is a tool of Satan, and we are busy chasing worldly things, which makes us then be in a position where we don't have time or the ability or the energy or whatever to take care of ourselves properly. So yeah, it's chasing the world.
It's not to poo-poo on the supplement industry. I participate. I purchase the right supplements for my body, and we manufacture them. Everyone that Doug and I work with, we have beautiful stories, life-changing stories from customers who said, this is what your product did. And then Doug will always come back, it's not what the product did, it's what we just gave it, a resource and a tool to give your body the help that it needed to do its job naturally.
Yeah, I like God gives us an inbuilt ability to heal. He gives us we just have to give it the right environment and the right things. But
Exactly.
back to you, Doug.
And that's why we're not chasing the trends. And if people are on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, they're always seeing people promoting supplements or promoting this and that kind of stuff.
I don't even know what you can trust out there, though. Like For instance, there's one lady that's a popular doctor, and I just love her, and I've gone to her conferences. But people take her video and put it on their products, and she doesn't promote products. So like, don't
Well, and
trust what you see out there.
even a lot of these doctors that you see promoting, and I'm not trying to speak negatively of anybody because there's a lot of people doing this with the right intentions, but a lot of these social media doctors, I know where they're getting their products from. They're in it so much for the money and the story and the fame rather than the product. Because I look at their product ingredients decks and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, come on, you should know better. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, money, the love of money.
Exactly,
Well,
exactly.
you do
So
need to, my saying is though, I don't look, I'll be honest with you, I don't look at making money as a bad thing. I learned this a long time ago when I had my previous turmeric business, and I call it conscious capitalism. That just means being aware and how and your intents and how you're creating an income. If you're
Yeah,
helping,
for sure,
money
for sure.
money's not a bad thing, but the love of it, when you start making decisions based on gain, you know what I mean? Like, it's the love of it. Like, I obviously want to live well and have money to put into the kingdom, and but when it gets to the point where you're making decisions, like some of these doctors where they're making decisions to deceive basically their customer so they can make more money, like, that is an issue.
Yeah, it becomes a challenge. So we try to stay out of that lane, and work with people like yourself that are truly passionate about, like, what is this? Why does it work? What's the foundation behind it? And I would rather have a relationship with you than any of those people because you're doing it right and you
Thank you.
actually really honestly care for the people that you're working for. So that's what makes this such a great relationship to work together. So the interesting thing is when we look at a lot of different supplements, and I'll say silver because silver is a product that I've been working with for years and years and years. Silver as a product is heavily demonized. And if somebody was to go to Google and type in colloidal silver or silver for wellness, they're going to get pages and pages and pages of information that's damaging and demeaning to silver. And it's like, okay, why is silver so heavily smashed up compared to other forms of products, right? And I'll be honest with you, big pharma hates silver. And if you chase back the originators of the articles online in so much of this, it's coming back to bought and paid for articles that are written by different press associations that know how to do great SEO and rank information and press releases on Google to scare people away from it. And why does big pharma hate silver? Because silver naturally cleanses yeast, bacteria, fungus, mold, and viruses. And naturally, when we look at, and this could be a conversation for another day, but I don't know if you've ever got into talking about, in the 1930s, the Flexner report and
Oh yeah.
the Rockefellers took over the medical system in 1930s based on Flexner's report, right? So when we look at pre-1930s, late 1800s, there was actually over 100 applications for silver in the physician's desktop reference manual, meaning that it was something that the doctors used. The patent on silver ran out in the 1920s, meaning it couldn't be repatented. And in the 1930s, we saw that Rockefeller, through his petrochemicals, was able to create the pharmaceutical empire, right? In came pharmaceuticals and the different compounds there. And so many of the supplements and so many of the natural compounds were then heavily demonized because they were direct competitors to what were the new petrochemical derived pharmaceutical products, right? So since the 1930s, they've been trying to do everything they can to get silver out of the marketplace because it is extremely effective with the human body. And I will say that there is information out there, like when we see, can it turn me blue or cause argyria? That is 100% correct. Yes, it can information if it's produced incorrectly and improperly.
I was gonna say,
So
I hear that more with people who are producing it themselves. Well,
yeah, and
supplements have it.
the biggest challenge with it is people will produce the silver with these, little countertop devices that they purchase on Amazon for $29.95 kind of thing. And they have no idea of the quality of the silver rods that they're using. It's a low energetic frequency. But what it's doing is it's creating a colloidal silver that can be good in an emergency situation, but definitely not intended for long-term use.
So
And
emergency situation, pink eye, maybe ear
I
infection,
would I would keep
wound.
I would keep that form of silver off the body myself.
Yeah.
Um, and use it in very short, when
Orthopedic.
you get a cold or a flu or something like you need, or a food poisoning or something, and you just need to kind of hit it for a short, for a day or two, so be it.
Oh, see, I wouldn't even, okay, and it's just my personal preference. I only use your structured silver. That's all I use. But if I had to use colloidal for some reason, like I would use it topically. I know a lot of people do use it internally, but
It
Yeah,
actually has a different taste
shorts.
to it too. Did you know that? Because I have a really bad emergency, went and got something that it tasted bitter and it's like battery acid. I don't know if it was a brand or anything, and I bought it at a store, and but it is too acidic. And I looked at certain bottles, and certain bottles will say can only be used for a short period of time, and that's where we, as a company, and what we produce, um, it's safe for daily use
yeah.
because pathogens floating in
That's
there.
why it's the only one I recommend to my clients. Your Ameo silver is the only silver that I carry. So anyway,
We've been producing this product for close to 20 years. We've never had anybody with a discoloration problem. We've actually never had one negative effect to the product in the, I don't know how many tens of thousands of bottles we've produced. We've never had one adverse effect with anybody with this.
so
And
like until I heard of your product, I had never even heard of structured silver. So like where did that like brainstorm idea come from, like to move away from the colloidal? Did you ever do the colloidal to the structured?
so the structured is, I'm going to say, we had a conversation in the beginning about creation and how God influences things. So structured water is a definition, let's say, of river water, right? When we think of river water, we think of water starting in the mountains and running down to the basin of the ocean or a lake, right? But as that water runs down the rivers, it's structured. It's vortexing itself in pools around rocks. It's picking up minerals from branches and rocks as it comes down. So we've all been taught now that river water is dangerous to drink, right? Um, and go buy your bottled water that's full of
Plastic.
microplastics. But stay away from the river water because it's dangerous. But when we look at river water in its purest form, it's structured water. It is the best water on earth, right? It absorbs into the cells. So structured water is a definition of us being able to get that purest form of water into the product that we use for this.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
when you look at distilled water, and if you look at and you'll see like the description on the bottle, just for anybody that would be looking at one of our product and seeing that it says, well, steam distilled water on the back of it. Just note that there isn't a classification for an ingredient through the FDA that says structured water. You've got to go with the steam distilled water. Because
Like actual, like natural water.
you can't use that. Like
Yeah,
you've got to keep it within the descriptive classification. So structured water is the purest form of water. Distilled water and purified waters are waters that are man manipulated. They flatten them, they take the energy out of them, they're taking the minerals out of them, or they're introducing a different form of mineral blend into the water, and they're doing a lot of things to destroy water. And water essentially is a living, breathing organisms. You've seen the studies of, if somebody speaks negatively to water, water can turn black, right? Like water has a life force to it, which is, it's the largest, other than the dirt that we're created with, it's the second largest, component to our human body, right? Like, so
I think you need to say that again because I don't think a lot of people realize that water has life.
water, yeah, water has a force to it. And I'm not trying to go, weird here, but like
Um,
why is water our second biggest component outside of the dirt God created us with, right?
Well,
So
I think about even like, okay, just biblically, Jesus says, I am the living water. Like, as you're talking about this living water, like that's that's what's coming into my head is like scripture that where Jesus says, I am the living water.
right,
Good. Oh, I like
exactly.
that. True, though. That's a very good. I like that. It's true though. Yes. Go ahead,
So
Doug.
so with that, we we make sure that the water that goes into our products that are liquids is that I'm going to call it structured water, but is that living water? It's not a water that we feel that we can do something better with than as it's created, right? So when we see structured and it's on our silver, structured silver, living water silver, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we take those silver particles and we actually get them into a size that's under 10 nanometer, which means that you could take thousands of silver particles and put them on the tip of this pen. And what we're able to do is we're actually able to embed that silver particle into the water molecule so that it doesn't fall out of solution, it doesn't settle to the bottom of the jar, meaning that you don't have to shake it before you use it, meaning it's safe and it's going to pass through the body in approximately 12 hours. So that's where we don't have the problems that a lot of the colloidal silvers have. And within,
Because the colloidal silver can get stuck in the body.
well, it's big particle, large
Quickly, right?
particle that's flakes. And if you look at a colloidal silver product, it'll be a bunch of silver settling into the bottom of the glass that you shake up and then you consume. Well, the way I look at it, if it's going to settle to the bottom of the glass sitting on the counter, then what's it doing in your body, right? And that's where we
Yeah.
see concerns with Argyria and that kind of thing.
Can you
So,
just silver doesn't reside in your fat cells, Doug? That would be a great selling point. What do you think?
What is this?
That
About?
silver does
well,
not reside in your fat cells. It doesn't accumulate because a lot of things like to accumulate in women's fat cells.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
So, so with that, like I say, we're able to take these properties and get them into the human body as they were intended to be used, and we see, I mean, amazing success. Because one of the other sort of, I guess would it be challenges is the best way to say it, is people that are sick live to the description that the medical system has given them,
They take
right?
on it as their identity.
They do. And people don't take the time to say, okay, what's making me sick? Right? Like what's causing this? So when we look at silver, for instance, and back to the fact that silver naturally cleanses like yeast, bacteria, fungus, and mold, we'll keep viruses aside for a minute. Well, when we look at what's making us sick, right? What is pink eye? What is toenail fungus? What is so many of the digestive concerns that we're facing in a daily basis? What is acne and a lot of the skin conditions that people are facing? They'll go and they'll get a description from the medical system so that they, and they spend 10 minutes with the doctor and he always, taking your weight and blood pressure and a couple of things, he's going to tell you what's wrong with you. And then he's going to send you home with a prescription, right? Well, nobody says to the doctor, well, what's causing this?
Right.
Right. And in a lot of cases, the doctor don't know because the
I was going to say, or if
pharmacist
they do, the
never
doctor
trained them
doesn't
to.
know. Yeah.
Right. But if we as people just take a few minutes to do some inquiries to say, okay, what's causing this? Then we can look at the positive ways and the natural ways to remedy that, right? So many of the skin conditions that people are facing today aren't skin conditions, they're digestive concerns and they're leaky gut syndrome. And it's, taking all of these acidic foods and these foreign substances, have given the bad bacteria in the digestive system an ability to flourish. and they chew holes in the layers of our stomach and leach out those toxins into our stomach. And where do they end up? They end up in the skin, right? And they get trapped in the pores of the skin, which is our body's largest organ. And then they start to create a lot of these different skin conditions. And acne is a big one. Everybody thinks that their teenagers are going through puberty and going through these different phases in life, and they've got these big acne breakouts on their face. Take control of their diet and their digestive system, and a lot of that's going to go away, right? Don't throw a whole bunch of chemical products at it. Like,
Topical. Yeah.
exactly, because you're just going after the effect, you're not going after the cause. So this is where silver, and we've seen like amazing stories with people, is because it's created by God, and I'll tell you why it's created by God in a second here, to go after the root of what's causing us to be in poor condition. So this is just how much smarter God is than us. So when we look at the periodic table of elements that we all learned in grade 6 science class, right? And there's gold and silver and mercury and lead and all these kind of, different elements. Believe it or not, silver is the only element on the periodic table of elements that's missing an electron. When we look at the electrical properties of, gold and copper and all of them, silver is missing an electron. So why is that important? Well, when silver is working in and on the body, because it's missing an electron, it's looking to complete itself electronically. So what it's doing is it's constantly giving and receiving. So when we look at bad bacteria, we look at a yeast, we look at a mold or a fungus, what silver is doing is silver is actually stealing the electrical core or the cellular nucleus from those, causing them to rupture.
Wow.
And that's just how much smarter God is than we are, right? And why is it that silver's been used for, we can argue about how old the earth is. We'll say thousands of years here. But why has silver been used in natural remedies through every civilization for thousands of years and not a lot of these other precious metals? Like, why is it a silver spoon? Why is food served on silver trays? Why is, food and milk stored in silver vats? Is because of the antimicrobial properties. It is able to destroy the bacterial growth in those.
Oh,
So
wow.
this isn't me speaking, this is history speaking, right? So when we look at the uses and abilities that we can do with this, it's endless. And I don't want to sound like a snake oil salesman saying, hey, take this and your crops will grow back and everything will be fixed. But when we just look at it from and I don't even want to say a science approach, I'm going to say God's approach to how he created things. It's like he created something pretty dang amazing here that exceeds anything that we could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't pair it with anything or think that it can be better if it's made with something else. Because if we just have it circulating either in or on the body, going after these yeast, these bacteria, these funguses, and these molds, it's going to naturally cleanse so much of what's wreaking havoc on our body, right? Silver isn't a supplement like a herb or botanical that's going to feed and nourish our cells like trace minerals, but look at it is the firefighters that are going to go into the burning house with their hoses and put out the fire, right? That's the best way to look at it is, and then we rebuild the body back from there.
Well, I'm really interested in the viral part of it because viruses can be really difficult to deal with.
Okay, so
Also,
when we look at a virus, right? Once again, we're thinking HPV, we're thinking of all of these different names of these viral strands.
What about like EBV?
Okay, so that's just a name for a viral strand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's peel it back one layer back on here. And what is a virus? A virus is an incomplete DNA molecule that gets introduced to the body and is looking for a host. And predominantly that virus is looking for an energetic host, predominantly a white blood cell. So if you just create a mental visual picture of a virus, for instance, for a second, that it would be a mosquito, right? And as it's circulating through the body and it finds that host, i.e. a white blood cell, it pumps its content into that blood cell, creating sister DNA, completing the whole of the viral, right? Which then puts enough content into that white blood cell, causing it to rupture and explode. Then we've got all of these sister DNA virus molecules circulating through the body. We've got a viral overload, and now we're sick, right? In most cases, with a healthy immune system, God programmed our body to say, hey, I recognize this, I can keep it at bay. And that's why a lot of people that have viral conditions will have those viral conditions for life, but the immune system's keeping it at bay. Then all of a sudden they go and they break their leg or they break their arm and something happens. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I just broke my leg, but now I've got all of this sickness, is because the immune system's saying, hey, I only got so much of me to go around. Where do you want me to fix? Right. And I'm just trying to keep this like ultra simple in description.
Right. Yeah, because I'm thinking too, like, and then put on top of it, they're eating the Franken food and not getting
Totally.
true nutrition, and yeah,
Not giving
Right.
your body
So when
time.
we,
no
right.
sunshine.
So when we look back to the viral, for instance, okay, so if we just describe an incomplete DNA molecule circulating through the body, looking for a host, the interesting thing is when silver is in and circulating throughout the body, it's actually more energetic, a higher energetic frequency than the white blood cell. So what studies have shown is the virus will attach itself to the silver particle and ride itself out through the waste system. So it's a good, I don't want to say preventative, it's a good
Maintenance.
maintenance for that, for what our body's hitting us with on a daily basis. In the fact that we get a viral outbreak or a sickness due to the viral outbreak, well, then silver is there to partner with the immune system to help mop up the mess that the viral outbreak has created. And people can go to, PubMed or any of the leading publications and see that, silver is very successful with HPV and all of these different viral concerns because of how the mechanism of action works. And we've got to be careful that we don't get stuck in the label of what is the viral, right? Like, is it HPV? Is it some of these ones that we don't want to talk about? Is it
Real quick,
just
Doug,
a sec, Dina.
yeah.
Is it the one that's hitting the birds and the cows and everything else right now?
Right. It's viral.
It's viral.
Yeah.
So I would love to do a study on the one that's dropping the animals out of the air right now. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And making egg
Yes.
prices 10 times worth what they're worth right now. But
Yes.
they'll never allow us to do that.
No.
But from a
Well, I have a
mechanism,
fantastic scientist that you would probably love to talk to.
so this is where we can help a lot of people in a lot of different ways by, I'd say, offering something that goes to work at what the root cause is of wreaking havoc on the body. And that's like the safest way I can say
Yeah,
that.
it's just like it goes in, it looks for the issue, helps clean up
Right.
the issue, and you don't have to really have a name on that.
Exactly. So, this is where we can use it anywhere on the body, in the body. For women, for instance, and we did a two-year speaking tour to women's clinics on this, but the woman part of the body, right? That is riddled with yeast. And as a result of riddled with yeast, we've got massive pH swings to, pH positive, pH negative, me as a guy, I have a hard time talking about this. But we've got and we've heard it all, but we've got the itching, we've got the pain, we've got everything that goes along with that part of the
Discharge,
body,
yeah.
all of it. And, I've worked with women that their marriages were breaking down, like they were trapped in their body as a result of what was going on there, and they couldn't find refuge. The medical system basically, the doctors use them as a pin cushion, saying, we'll take this and take that, and they just go back and forth
Or just more antibiotics, which is creating more imbalance.
Yeah, exactly. So the nice thing is we've seen so many women being able to reclaim their life back by conquering the issues that happen in that part of the body, because we're going after the yeast, we're going after the bacteria, and we're going after what is causing that.
So are we doing, so obviously you're taking the silver internally. Are you doing topical with that type of case also, like protocol wise?
Well, you will use the gel
Okay. Oh, okay.
through the outer side of things. You can use the silver liquid as a douche, for instance, or you can use the gel even as a lubricant, but for sexual activities
Yeah,
to get that gel, into the
in
vaginal
there.
where it needs to be. So, the one thing we know is if we can introduce silver to those affected parts of the body, we can make a big difference with it. And I mean, you know, the stories that we have from so many thousands of women that were trapped in their body and being able
Yeah,
to be in their body it brings you to tears is the best way to say it.
makes such a difference for them.
Exactly.
Explain to me why salt affects. Like my understanding is you like don't want to have salt when within an hour or two of doing this silver. Am I correct in that?
It just disrupts the water molecule. As we know, salt breaks down water molecules. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're keeping that water molecule intact.
So how
And
far away from when you dose with the silver, how far away do you need to keep the salt?
I usually will say an hour, right?
Okay.
So that we get the silver circulating through the body. And that's not that you can't eat foods and stuff, but we're making more reference to people that are doing a TV dinner or,
Oh, high salt,
fast
like
food
Morton's.
or exactly as compared to, that kind of thing.
So like Celtic, Himalayan, Baja
Exactly.
is okay. Just
Yeah.
try to keep it
Yeah.
further
Just
away
take
from it.
table salt and chemical salt are the ones that we're most concerned about because they'll
Okay, well,
entertain.
I tell my audience all the time, get rid of the Mortons unless you have POTS, then, and you need to recover your heart rate, but like get rid of the Mortons because it's awful.
Yeah.
I hope they
Yeah.
don't sue me for that.
What's that?
I hope they don't sue me for saying that. But it's not. It's two chemicals that kill your taste buds. It's
Exactly.
not giving you anything nutritionally.
Exactly.
Hey, Doug, what I wanted to say earlier, because I use the word like it is a bad word to use silver to combine silver with viruses because we don't want to say that really, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with saying that because viruses have been around since when God created the heavens and the earth. I mean, I think leprosy is one of the first infectious diseases, but He gave us things naturally to support or combat those things. I just don't think we should be afraid of viruses because we're all made up of viruses. We have viruses sitting in our bodies right now. It's whether the choices that we make with our nutrition, our sleep, and all those things that I shared earlier, if they're going to allow that virus to continue and multiply and do what they would really like to do in the body. But I tell people you're made up. Don't be afraid of viruses. Your body's made up of them. They're part of your DNA.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Silver is complementary. We just can be used as a bad word, viruses. If people are scared of it, the government doesn't like us to use that word either. But
Mhm.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. And we're trying to be cautious in how we language things, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the disclaimer is we're not doctors. You said that early on. We're not doctors. We're not claiming to diagnose, cure, prescribe anything. Just support your body with natural elements that the Lord gives us.
amen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we talked, okay, so anything like more just specific to the silver?
Oh, we can go for hours, but what we
Oh,
should do is give the listeners a break
okay.
and come to an end for this episode. And if they like what we're talking about, we can jump into
Yeah.
round two.
Come back and talk about the fulvic
Yeah.
and the humic and the complementary, like the synergy between the products. You have a lot of products though. Like, do you want to list some of the other things that you carry? I want to try your cough drops. I have not, I keep those blueberry cough drops are very appealing to me. I haven't ordered them yet though.
No,
Um,
they're good. They're
yeah,
good. Yeah, we've got the silver, we've got the mouthwash, the trace minerals, the probiotic and multivitamins, the
Silver
gel, the
the
soap.
soaps.
Yeah, and basically what we're trying to do is just create a environment and a line that works in harmony with each other. So we know that the the silver is naturally going to combat the yeast, bacteria, fungus, mold. So it's the firefighter that's going to come in and basically really tackle the flames, right? And then we look at the humics and the fulvics, which are, ancient plant life. I try to explain them as pre-flood plant life. And when we look at Noah's flood, for instance, the world was a specific way prior to the flood, right? And if we can source the mineral extracts out of those plant life deposits prior to the flood, we're tapping into something that hasn't been manipulated by man, hasn't been hit by GMOs and, all of the things that have been pouring down on the earth. And, just are an unmanned, ruined
Yeah,
thing.
like the DDT that doesn't ever go away.
Exactly. The things that are coming through the chemtrails and landing on our vegetation. So we're tapping into that. And when we look at it, it's an extremely active and alive form of trace minerals, right? So what do trace minerals do is they create all of the functions of our body, the impulses. They're what gives, that's why our heart beats, that's why our lungs function, that's what our brain runs on, it is the minerals and the trace minerals. And this is where, when we look at conventional diet today, is people aren't getting any nutrition from their foods, right? Like none whatsoever. It's just destroyed. Food is substance, and that's why substance is making us sick. So we need to get these minerals, we need to get all of these into the human body, because they're what's going to help restore and repair our cells. They're what's going to help remove heavy metals and toxins from our bodies. And they're what's going to set us in this course correction mode for getting our body back running like it should be running, right?
Yeah, I like
So
to say it's the glue,
it
glue
is.
to
So
the body.
the fulvic minerals, and people can look and do the research on that, are out of this world as far as what they can do. And then, the humic side of things, I look at more as the detoxification, pulling the heavy metals and chelating things out of the body. So we've got we've set this up on purpose. We've got the silver to go in and naturally cleanse the destruction to the body. We've got the fulvic minerals to go in and help restore the cells and start the rebuilding process and delivering, what the body needs. We've got the humic that's going to help pull the toxins out of the body, and the humic has naturally occurring probiotics in it as well. And then we've got our MB40 probiotic, which is the longest lasting strain of probiotics in the digestive system, that we've also complemented with slippery elm, fiber, inulin, turmeric, and aloe within that as well. And if you look at what those all do on their own, is help with inflammation, help with softening the bowels so that we get people going to the bathroom properly, further help pull the toxins out of the body and get them out through the waste system, and then delivering these digestive enzymes that can really wake up in that hot acidic environment of the digestive system and work. So those four products just absolutely work in complete symmetry to one another. And when we look at other forms of supplementation, this is one of the, so that there gives you your complete form of supplementation of what you need on a daily basis. All of your vitamins, your trace minerals, your immune support, and your digestive support, right? And when we look at a lot of the different supplements on the market, they are a portion of what one of these are. Like, so they break it down, so you're ended up buying another supplement, let's say, or taking something else. We're trying to get what the body needs in a complete serving, let's say, with having somebody not to have to spend as much money as taking 20 different supplements, and deliver something that's completely bioavailable to the body, right, through the structured water and through these different channels, so that we can bring cleansing and healing to the body in the most natural way, right? And then, yes, we do have the gels and the soaps and the other things, which are basically different ways to get these properties onto the human body in the areas that are needed.
Yeah, that's interesting that you have the slippery elm and the aloe in capsule, like in the probiotic. Are you going to come out with can I make a product request?
Sure.
He's like, oh no. Could we have a good tasting children's vitamin?
Yeah, and that's actually already done.
You have it already? I did not know this.
So what we've got, and this isn't through Ameo Life, but I'm just gonna put a different hat on for a second.
Okay.
So we've got another company that we've been working on for over 2 years now, and we're the first company to deliver a freeze-dried fruit supplement. So,
Fantastic.
um, oh man, do we want to get into this right now? What the heck? Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's
This
do it. You know what?
this supports the mission of everything that we're talking about. It just
Have you-
takes us in a
is
completely
this
different
public
direction.
news? I don't want to be
Oh
breaking.
yeah, no, this is fine. There's a website, people can purchase it.
Okay.
ViteBites.com.
So
What is
we've
it?
got ViteBites, VITE bites.com. So what, and this goes back to the foundation of who we are and what we are, is in answer to your question, right? We wanted to come out with a more of an innovative product line because our customers were asking us for a different delivery system. And we've seen the gummy industry explode over the last 10
Yeah,
years.
it's awful.
And I went to every single gummy manufacturer on the planet and I said, give me your cleanest ingredient deck baseline as a gummy that I can have a look at. And I was appalled. Like even the cleanest of the cleanest was still junk. And I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
No, I
And
agree.
looked at other forms of candy supplementation and this kind of stuff, and it's just all, in order to make the product, you have to use the certain ingredients to make the baseline of the product. It just is what it is. So so challenge number one with gummies was the ingredients required to make the gummy itself. The second challenge with gummies was the amount of headspace, and I'm talking as a formulator here, the amount of headspace that you could put ingredient into a gummy. So imagine a gummy bear, right?
Right.
You've basically got from the top of the eyes down is what is required to make the gummy. You've got that tiny little space at the top that you can fit the nutraceutical ingredient
Oh,
in.
wow. That's a very small space.
So there's a lot of deception in the gummy industry because the gummies aren't delivering what the human body needs. You can't get enough nutrient into a gummy to get a daily serving allotment, right?
Yeah, and I think the normal consumer too doesn't when they don't look at the back of that label and be able to read it and know that they're not getting much.
Gummies are like breakfast cereal. They look great, they're terrible for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't start your day with breakfast cereal. It's the same kind of thing. Um, so that led us down this road and we're like, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? So we actually saw how the freeze-dried industry is starting to really come into its own. And so we worked for 2 years on developing a freeze-dried supplement that could taste amazing. But the nice thing is with the freeze-dried supplement is there's nothing in it. It's fruit and nutraceutical. There's no sugars, there's no pectins, there's no carnauba waxes, there's no any of the various ingredients that's required to make the gummy or the candy. So one, it's just 100% fruit. Two, we now have a lot more headspace that in 2 ViteBites or 2 of these freeze-dried products, you can get your daily serving allotment of nutraceutical. And they taste amazing. And, one of the things that is, as I've gone around the country and attended different events and had these with me to do some sampling with, is moms with autistic children, for instance, love this because the one thing I see through the autistic communities is we don't want to give our kids gummies. We want to give our kids natural, but our kids don't want to eat anything. As we know with autistic kids, getting nutrition into them is one of the hardest things on earth. So with all of the autistic children that I've tried this with, as you know, it's a battle at first to get them to take one. But I mean, if you can catch on camera, um, the look on the face of the child when they take this, and I mean, 100% of the time, I haven't seen one autistic child turn their nose up at this after they taste one. Just that look is just like, wow, like this is awesome.
I'm going
And
to do that. I know some autistic children. I'm going to get some and have their moms video them when they eat it for the first time.
I love
and
that.
it's always been it's always been an extremely tearful experience because I remember I was in Cleveland at an event and there was a mom with her daughter there. And I think her daughter, she was about 15 years old. And you know, she was a tough one. She was a tough one. It was the best way to say it. And the mom was like, she says, "Have you got anything that can get nutrition into my daughter? Because she will not eat anything but crackers and chocolate bars." Like that was just where things were at, right? And I said, "Well, let's give this a try." Um, and it was an emotional experience because we coaxed the girl to take one, and I think we ended up having to buy her a toy or something to get her to do it. Like just there was a barter session for it, and the girl took it reluctantly. She had it on her tongue and she bit it. And there was a minute of shock, like, what is this? Because I've never had anything like it. And then just this smile came across her face. And she just could only say more, put her hand out, more, more, more. And the mom just burst into tears.
Oh
And
man.
like, you do not realize what we've been through to get, healthy nutrition into our daughter. And so we've seen this like so many times now, and it's emotional because families are struggling. And I started talking down this autistic route, and I didn't mean to sort of all go down there because you asked about a kid's vitamin.
Yeah, no,
But
no,
it
it's
just
fascinating.
when we've got something that yes, is a kid's vitamin, but now is accepted and able to be used with more than just your standard child, and help more children. Yeah, it's awesome. So like I say, we've kept that as a completely separate company and brand and technology than our Ameo Life brand, but it's our ViteBites brand. Um, if I was giving it to my kids today, like right now, you'll see on our website, we've got a multi that's an adult multi, and you'll see an immunity.
Yeah.
The multi that's on the site today is about a 5 out of 10. Like it's not the greatest. The immunity is a 10 out of 10. Um, and then we've got the kids multi coming soon. We're just working on some flavor profiles for that. So what I've been using for kids is an adult multi 1 per day as compared to 2 per day, right? But
On the ViteBites site.
yeah, but if you look at if for me and my kids, I use the immunity one right now because we've got the fulvic minerals in there. So we've got the 72 trace minerals in there. But we also used Camu Camu in there, which is a natural vitamin C that's 1,200 times more potent than a standard vitamin
Wow.
C. So if I was giving this to my kids or anybody listening, I would go with the immunity myself.
Okay.
You're going to get all the vitamins, minerals, and everything in there, but it just tastes way better.
So for
Um,
the kids, one immunity.
you can go 1 or 2. The nice thing is it's all
It's food.
natural.
Yeah.
So, there's days where I'll eat half a jar of this because they're so dang good. And, we can't oversell ourselves on pure natural ingredients.
Yeah. So are you doing partnerships with the new company yet, or what's
We
that looking like?
will be shortly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm
Stay tuned.
excited about that.
Stay tuned on that. And you know what? Something that I don't know if Doug mentioned this or not, I didn't hear it, but there's a focus on kids and especially kids who are autistic. But I know an audience out there because I have one customer who buys them. her audience is senior citizens who have dysphagia and swallowing disorders.
Oh, yeah.
Me. And so when you put this bite in your mouth, it literally just dissolves quickly. So there's not like, it's not a heavy supplement that you has to be where a bolus has to be created. So senior citizens who are not getting all those minerals in their body can greatly benefit from these ViteBites. I like to stress that because it's that population that suffers
Yeah,
a lot with not getting minerals.
you're
Kids,
right.
senior citizens, and when you can put something delicious like that of just fruit, it's going to do what it needs to do. Because it's, I call it sublingual, but I don't know if we can we say that formally, Doug, that our product is sublingual?
Sure, sure. So
Well,
we're
for the people
still,
that don't know what sublingual means, please explain.
This means it goes into your blood, into your cells, into your system right underneath the tongue because it's dissolving in the mouth.
Okay.
It's not like
and
you
the nice
swallow
thing,
it.
yeah, and the nice thing with this is being that it's just fruit and the, you know, the natural nutraceuticals, is we're also able to lock in the pureness of the fruit through the freeze drying process. So we're not debilitating the actual fruit itself, and we're not killing off the
Right.
healthy portions of
With
the
heat.
fruit.
Yeah.
So you're getting, you know, the naturalness and the minerals from the fruit, as well as the supplements. So we're literally just in our starting phases with this product. You know, we're still in our capital raise mode to grow it and everything. So you're hearing this like right in the beginning
I'm
stages.
excited. I'm going to go order some and I will video. I will video these. I'll have the parents video the kids. If you
You'll be shocked. You will be
Yeah.
I'll
shocked.
give you,
And
you
and
know,
it
we'll talk
and it,
about this.
and it's awesome. Like, I mean, it's just so awesome to
I'm so
see.
excited about all of what you guys are doing. I'm so glad that the Lord has connected me to your company and that I get to share your amazing products with my people that are looking to take care of their temple. And thank you so much for coming on today. And you're going to come back another day because I think you mentioned like 2 or 3 other podcasts that we could do. And so I will get you scheduled in and come back and get that information out to the public.
For sure. Anytime you want us, we're here to serve.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dina. Thanks, Doug.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.